Welcome to Holding Shot, a Bowls WA podcast featuring the biggest names and their stories from the greens around Western Australia.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Holding Shot, the Bowls WA official podcast. My name's Aaron Clark, or A2. I'm the marketing officer here at Bowls WA. And this time I have Peter Harris joining me again.
How are you, Aaron?
Yeah, good. You're a busy man, always doing stuff.
There's always something to do, isn't there?
Absolutely. Now, I'm incredibly excited to introduce our guest today. On this episode, a well-known figure in the bowls community, a recent winner of state singles, so a bit of a topical guest on today, and of course Jackaroo, and our very own Perth Sons, Cody Packer. How are you?
Good, thanks for having me on.
It's a pleasure, absolute pleasure. So yeah, congratulations on the win. How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, I was pretty stoked. I think lots of people have made comments that I've wanted it for a while, and it's pretty accurate, those comments. Sort of felt a bit surreal still. You sort of get it done and then you're thinking about the next thing you got to do. So I flew out the next morning for World Trials, so I didn't really have a lot of time to enjoy it and think about it until the next thing. But yeah, pretty stoked.
Yeah, good on you. I think I remember you saying 15 years. Did you say 15 years you've been
15
trying?
attempts, yeah.
15 attempts?
Yeah, I've missed a couple in there, but 15 goes at it, never made it past quarterfinals. So
yeah, it's my first watch for me, seeing you play as well as just the singles and state singles is really good. Blake Butler obviously played well as well. But yeah, the fact you're still enjoying it, or calming down from it, should I say, is good.
yeah, it's nice to have a bit of time to think about it now, and just trophies on the mantle at home, so I get to look at it occasionally.
So you happy you've learnt how to play singles again?
Yeah, it's thanks, Peter. Yeah, well, I mean, as you would know, with the tears you shed when I won the Junior Australian singles, I used
Notice
to
that
be
you
able
get
to
in
play it once.
first.
Yeah, got in
We'll come
first.
back to that.
And then forgot for a passage there. Enjoyed some success in team events, but just couldn't play singles for a while there. But yeah, finally learnt again. Very happy with that.
Anything you put your finger on, or why you've got all the shots?
Not really. Probably just reminding myself that I put in the work, and mentally more than anything, was always the challenge. Staying focused for long periods and
Focus with no team around you.
yeah, I was sort of fed off other people.
Yes.
And doing it for someone else was always easier for me. Like playing the big bowl for the team was easier. So I did a lot of work with Hales, who is a very, very good singles player, and as well with Blake. Blake's been very selfless with his time, helping me, which, it went against him on the day.
Yeah,
but
ironic. Yeah.
We're very, very good mates, so I'm always very appreciative of what he's done.
So is that now 2-0 to you for Blake?
You
played before.
If you don't count roll-ups, it's 2-0.
Yeah.
Two big
And if we did count roll-ups,
probably 2-2.
Was there $1 or $2 on the roll-ups?
No, nothing like that.
No?
Nothing like
All friendly banter, that's
that.
good.
Can of Coke, maybe.
Good. No sugar, of course.
No sugar.
The way you yes.
That's it.
Yes.
Yeah.
We want to start where he started?
Yeah, let's start from the beginning.
Because you're not in Australia, are you?
I am now.
It's very
Legally,
very
paperwork,
forefront.
Paperwork says
You got more paperwork than me to say you're
That's
Australian.
true. No, born in New Zealand. So moved out to Australia 21 years ago now. So very much Australian.
Went to Queensland?
New South Wales
first.
Wollongong, Warrawong, and then up to Hervey Bay, Queensland, where I started playing bowls when I was 12, and then across WA when I was 16, where you inherited me, unfortunately.
Yes, that's where I ran into you. So, starting in Queensland, where were you, did you say? What?
Hervey Bay, about 4.5 hours north of
Been to
Brisbane.
Hervey Bay?
Yep.
So, is there any noted bowlers from there at that time? No, you just went down to the club?
No, Mum was working there.
Okay.
So I just had to go there after school.
Had to go there after school?
Fill in time before she finished her shift. And just eventually gave it a crack once, and 18 years later, I'm still going.
Actually, I was doing a little bit of digging, so I can ask you some questions. And you played against your youngest sister then, and I think she beat you on your first.
That was Hoggy covered that with me. So we all started at the same time. There's three of us who'd go down after school while Mum was working. and she was the better one of the three of us. And she belted me one day, and that was going to be the last time I ever played. Thankfully, she decided not to play anymore, so I had an avenue to start again. Yeah.
Has she gone back to it at all, or
No.
you've got too much of it? I told you.
Yeah, too much headway now for her to
Yep.
come back.
So then, from Queensland over to WA, as you said,
Mm-hmm.
was it Bedford? Is that where you first went?
Yep, yeah, my uncle and granddad come across first, and they started at Bedford, so naturally.
What year was that? That would have been
2009,
Pretty
I
young.
think. 0809.
0809?
Yep.
So the mainstay at Bedford at that time, Cliffy?
Yes.
Cliffy Greybrook?
Cliffy, the legend.
Legend
Cliffy.
of Bedford?
Oh, I love that man.
Yeah.
Yep.
So did he take you under his wing, or Cliffy was
I think
Probably not.
Yeah,
not
anyone,
in a come and hug me way? Of
No,
course,
no.
that wasn't Cliffy's way.
It certainly wasn't Cliffy's way. No, at the start, not really. But the more we became, I guess, strong teammates and the leaders of the Bedford top side, went away to a couple of carnivals together. We played Dongra Denison one year, just stayed together in one of the hotel or motels up there. We got a lot closer, chatted about all his achievements and probably how unlucky he was not to play state bowls, given the talent.
Definitely.
So yeah, certainly over a period of time, he became that figure, a very strong figure.
Very
that
strong.
He was.
So I left, I think, I had 2 years at Bedford. I think I left, probably heard you were coming, so I left. That about right? That'd be about the time period, I think.
Yeah.
And Cliff Greybrook was definitely very strong, as you say, a legend of Bedford.
Yeah. No,
Could do
absolutely.
no wrong, and probably did no wrong anyway, but certainly very strong, and he was very good to play with.
Yeah, I think the one thing I really appreciated about Cliff, the more I noticed it, and the more mature I got with age, was the amount of stuff he did off the green for the club. Like he bled Bedford. Like he'd be the one there trimming the rose bushes, taking the empty kegs out the back, anything you needed. And he was the best player at the club. So to be the best player and to do all the extra stuff behind the scenes.
Sounds very humble.
Yeah, it set the tone for what requires of a champion, and
Yeah, every club has those people.
Yeah.
Because he was pretty unheralded there. I think a lot of the bowling community knew Cliff Greybrook, but probably didn't put him as highly rated as probably what you and I probably do.
I don't think
because he was pretty understated on how good he actually was.
100%.
Yeah.
Do you remember any key phrase he said to you that perhaps you remember, or maybe keep it
PG?
Yeah,
PG.
I'll leave out some of the words of the phrase, but I think I've told people before. He always used to say, "Don't play Mickey Mouse bowls." So that was Cliff essentially telling you that if something was there to be hit, make sure you hit it. Don't play just a little bit. You make sure you make impact on the head. So he was always very clear about that. And there were some other words that went in that phrase that I can't repeat here. But he was a very passionate man, and that certainly stuck with me.
Brilliant.
So other sports at the time, was it just bowls? What else were you doing outside of
in WA?
When you were junior? Yeah, even in Queensland.
Was it cricket? Did you play a bit of cricket?
Yeah, I played a bit of zone cricket in Queensland when I was looking at bowls when I was about 12, 13.
Yeah.
Pretty good batsman, bit of a bowler, bit of a fielder. So played wide bay zone cricket. That's as far as I went with that. Most sports I didn't mind trying my hand at. A bit of a natural sportsman. Don't mind kicking a footy or passing a rugby ball, rugby.
Because let's get it out. Which country are you supporting in Union? Union.
Yeah. I've cleared this with the Bowls Australia coach actually. Everything is Australia except the All Blacks. You can't give up a team like that. Just besides the fact that it's so extremely successful, just the way they conduct themselves and their culture and just everything about that team, I'll always.
They've had a rough trot lately, haven't they? Not quite as.
Every champion has their down days.
Yeah. So you're not jumping the fence, not getting off?
Absolutely never. Never, ever. Yeah.
Okay, so All Blacks Union. Now I know who you support in AFL terms.
AFL. Yeah.
Why? Who do you support and why? What relationship at all would they have to where you've ever been?
I think it was at school in New South Wales. Sydney were flying, and everyone was supporting the red and white. It was just like, I'm not the person to jump on the crowd favourite. I've just never been that person. So I refused to support them. So the kids at school said I needed an AFL team. So I said okay. So they gave me a ladder to pick from, 1 through 18 or whatever it was at the time. So I just closed my eyes and landed somewhere in the middle. And
so you
Western
went
Bulldogs, and now
red, white, and blue.
Now
Just
I
added a
bleed
colour.
red, white, and blue.
Just added a colour to
love
it.
it. Yeah.
So yeah, that's
Worked out alright for me. A couple of prelims there.
Took
when
you
I
a
was
little
younger,
while.
and,
Yeah. No, you haven't had as much hard times as
North
the
Melbourne,
red and
for example.
we're talking about you here, not me.
Oh, well.
So,
Happy to share.
But that's as good as a way as ever, I suppose, to pick a team.
I think so. Worked out alright.
Okay.
Maybe I'll have to do that.
Maybe, because you don't have one.
No, I don't.
And you can't support the two teams here.
Okay, so I have to swap it all through.
Can I say that on this podcast? You can't do it.
Maybe we should take it back to balls for a
We'll
bit.
we'll find you one. We'll find you one. Other sports. League in Queensland. Surely rugby league was a part of your life.
Yeah, and I'm a New South Wales Blues through and through.
You're just killing the audience
I
here.
started in New South Wales, so
From my experience, I would have thought most West Australians would be Queensland.
Yeah, but I was an Origin supporter before I moved here, so I had New South Wales already, and they were really good.
Just strange, aren't you?
When I started supporting them, so it was pretty easy to follow.
Man, I don't know what we're going to do with you.
All over the place. You've said that for 15 years.
I know, I have, but it's just coming to the realisation you don't know who to support.
Oh, I do. I'm very clear. It just doesn't. No one else agrees with me.
So Bowles, so how old were you at Bedford then? You were like 14?
16.
16.
16, yeah.
16. And your first under-18s championships, under-18 championships?
Yeah, that was at Aussie Park,
Yep.
and I made the final of the singles against Cameron Tunstall,
That's right.
who decimated me, made me look stupid.
Did
which
that
was
to a
nice
few?
of him. Yep. And I think me and my brother used to play as well. He was quite good. We made the semi-final of pairs against Blake, and the other kid's
Blake
name
Mann?
was Cameron as well, I'm pretty sure. I just can't remember his last name. That was when Blake was at Stirling.
And then one more year. So you had 2 years, didn't you? Of
2 years of under-18 state,
Yeah.
and 1 year in Australia.
Yeah, so the second year, you were was probably at Manning.
Yep, and the finals were at Belmont. The finals of the fours were definitely at Belmont.
Yep.
Me and Maddie played the pairs in our last year together. And
that'd be Matthew France.
Me and Maddie were great mates back then, still are.
Mates with everybody.
We
saw him on the weekend, he hasn't changed.
He will never change. We were pretty confident of winning it, and probably played that way, got a bit ahead of ourselves, and got beat, so didn't win the pairs. Robbie Bell taught me a lesson in the singles, from what I can remember. That was back when I used to wear headphones and a roller. Oh, embarrassing.
Well, yeah, headphones in the roller.
Yeah, but
Why?
not the subtle headphones.
Well,
just
over there.
You were an out there young man.
I was still, Therese Hastings puts it best to me that I sort of dance to the beat of my own drum, and I've learnt to harness that a little bit, and make it a little bit more subtle.
Sometimes your own drum doesn't look good 10 years later.
Doesn't. No, certainly headphones over the head. No.
Do you see many people doing that?
No, nobody.
Nobody,
I
okay.
used to use it as a way to get in the zone before a game. It used to work.
So what
It's
were
quite
you
common
playing?
in sports.
What were you playing in headphones? Basketballs?
Back then?
Yeah.
It would have been...
Not country? Bit of Tchaikovsky?
Motley Crue,
Gunners.
Gunners, Metallica, Alice Cooper.
So is that still your music?
Yeah, and that's from my old man. My dad he's still an 80s rocker. So when we used to spend time together on the weekend, it was blaring 80s rock out of his apartment in Warilla, so that sort of stuck with me, and that's my genre.
I like the contrast and tempo of getting on like the bowling green.
Exactly.
with Metallica.
Relaxation with Metallica.
Yeah, I'm getting ready for a boxing title fight.
Yeah.
Bowls
We did it at state singles. I love that photo of your big bowler. Yeah, that was brilliant. I think a lot of people like that as well. Yeah.
So you didn't win an under 18 singles title.
Did not. Nope.
But two very, very clever coaches selected you in the under 18 singles.
By default, to be honest. Cameron pulled out.
Still
the only way I got it. Thank you, Cameron.
As far as I remember it, Therese and I selected you.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the only thing I remember.
Yep, went on a pretty good run at the Hela Kalani Bowls Club in the junior singles. Managed to snare that one, and then
you beat big time player and still is
Dylan
Fisher.
Yep,
so Dylan Fisher was in your year.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
So,
nice.
and much talked about. Probably certainly the favourite.
Yeah, I reckon I was probably paying Prince of Penzance odds in that game, managed to snare that title and then carried it through to the Australian Open as well.
Yeah.
Played Matty in the final. It's pretty cool.
A lot of history with Matty in the last just those 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. He spent a lot of time at my place because he was working at Yokine and because all his family's in Meriden.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of good times.
How was Peter as a coach?
It's not on my list.
It's on my list.
Look, nothing short of amazing. Did the right answer. He got the results he wanted.
Yes.
Just
so the famous story is I supposedly shed a tear when he won. Untrue. So put it out there.
He said the last time I shed a tear like that was when my last child was born. That's what it meant to him. Facts are facts.
But it was actually quite I suppose an exciting.
Of course, yeah.
So he didn't win an under 18s title. So we picked him when we could have picked others. We could have picked Matty France. And I don't know the reasons. I'm sure Therese and I discussed it at length. We put you through some trials and luckily for us we saw the talent in you. And
here he is now.
Yeah, History says we got you on the path to success.
He's collecting.
It's all you.
I've jumped off. Therese has kept on the wagon, I know that.
I had to keep one of his.
Exactly. You made your choice. That's okay. That's okay. I understand. Sometimes you outgrow your coaches.
What's next for you then? What have you got a goal in mind of your next claim to fame?
I've got ultimate goals would be to represent at a Commonwealth Games and a World Bowls. That's everyone who's in my position or wanting to be in my position, which I know I'm very fortunate to have. That's the ultimate. And I think because of the country we represent and the team that we play for, the quality of it, representing is great, but the gold medal is what you want because that's what all our predecessors have done at those major events. So, Christina's tasted that ultimate success.
Yeah, we've got her up on the office.
And she's we've had long chats about what it meant, and she put in years of work in that squad to get there. So ultimately, that's what I want.
Yeah. So you are the Jackaroos now. So how long's the actual Jackaroos bit been?
I've been in the
12 months?
actual Jackaroos. Yeah, about 12 months because I think the English tour was my first in the main squad, and that was last March.
And it was the emerging before that?
Yeah, I think I was in the emerging for about six months, and then a position opened up, and thankfully they picked me.
So just looking back, you have transformed, and we'll go. You've lost a lot of weight.
Yep.
Was there a goal in doing that? Was that just general health, or was there an actual bowling goal as well as just general health?
Zero bowling goal in that decision. That decision was all about my personal health and being a dad and being a good husband. As cliche as that might sound, kids were getting into sport, and I was coaching Austin's Auskick team, and realised, you know, I'm probably going to get in a bit better shape if they keep going with this, to run around with them. So that was it. COVID had hit. There was no bowls being played. I had to do something with my time. I like to keep busy, and just made a conscious decision that that's what I wanted to do. And generally, when I get something stuck in my mind that I want to do, I tend to get it done.
Yep. So that's just an ongoing thing now. Has that become part of your life, or do you have to work at it still?
Oh,
you have to keep reminding yourself of
it's
where you've been, where you're coming from, where you're going.
Yeah, I'm very conscious of where I've come from, and how easily, if you relax too much, I can slip back into old habits.
Yep.
Nowhere near as strict as I used to be to get to where I've got to. I think it's nice to find a balance now that I've got to this point.
Right.
Check the scales maybe once a month just to make sure that I haven't relaxed too much on what I'm doing. And obviously keeping in the gym just for general fitness and strength.
So this really is a mental thing?
Yeah, have you noticed any benefits from that in terms of your bowls playing?
I can perform at a high level for longer. That's probably the main one.
Yeah.
So being able to execute the same shot at end 1 as end 21, or as the first bowl of a day of singles versus the last bowl. Being able to execute that the same, because I'm in a physical condition where the body will produce the same results. And, you know,
fatigue doesn't really get involved into it anymore.
Sort of reflected last week. I've been on the track for 8 out of 9 days, and full days. The humidity and heat in Queensland was pretty bad. Like probably some of the worst heat conditions I've played in terms of humidity, and the body held up pretty good. So it's always nice to get that, and to be able to trust that you can back it up day after day.
Yeah, that's really good. Really good transformation. Yeah.
So you had a bit of, you've not going to say luck. We talked about the under-18s. You didn't win anything. Still got selected. State team. We've moved on a couple of years.
There's a trend here, isn't there, Pete?
I'm trying to build it.
I know where you're going.
So, state squad. What year was? How old were you then?
Straight out of juniors.
Straight out of juniors. 19.
18. Yep.
18. Close enough.
Mm-hmm.
Hadn't won anything.
Nothing.
How long before you got selected in the team?
That year.
Still hadn't won anything.
Nope.
So how'd you get in?
Well, if you ask John Sharp, it was a trial at Dudley Park.
Dudley Park. Yes.
He every time we have a conversation about representative bowls, he'll remind me that I trialled as a lead in a game versus the.
It might have been just against the Murray League.
The Murray League.
I think it was a country team. I think it was just the Murray League.
I think Greg Crisp was skipping the side actually, because he reminds me occasionally. And I had a day out on a surface I'd barely ever played on a wide hand with a pretty decent breeze. Sharpie gave me free rein of the jack length and just said, "Have at it, kid. See how you go." And yeah, I still don't remember how or how good it actually was, because I don't actually remember the game at all. But he stands by the fact it was a pretty.
I can't remember the back in the day. There's been various ways of being told that you're in the team. How did you get told then?
That was a letter.
There's sometimes when they used to announce it after a trial. They used to announce it, and didn't go down that well, I don't think, with a few players. And they used to do it alphabetical. So if they got past your letter, you knew you were gone.
Yeah, I think it was a letter.
I think it probably would have a letter by then.
And it was either that one or the second year I got picked. I changed addresses and didn't get a letter, but I got a text message from Rhett Butler to say congrats. So there's different ways you find out. But I'm pretty sure that first one was a letter. I was at home living at Mum's.
Shocked?
Yeah, well... Yeah,
or were you
maybe
giving some inclination previously?
No, shocked's fair. Because like you said, I hadn't won anything.
Any knowledge that it was coming?
No.
Rumours spread?
Zero. Besides, Sharpie and a couple of others saying...
How well you played?
You perform like that, they've got to pick you. But, I'd just come out of juniors. I'd only been in the state a couple of years. No one really knew much about me.
No.
Fair enough to say shocked. Yeah.
And your first skipper was? I can't.
My first skipper was John Sharpie at Nelson Bay.
He must put in a good word for you.
The rink was good. It was Sharpie, Matt Elol played 3. Tom Mitchell was on fire and he only played 2. I let up. I mean, it probably wasn't the rink record we wanted, I think, that first series, but we did play a couple of skippers that absolutely burned, from what I can remember.
Yep. So good experience?
Oh, loved it. Nelson Bay, what a setup. The club, the hotel directly behind the club.
Yep.
We didn't have to go anywhere. I hadn't been to an Eastern States club for a while, especially one that big, because I was from country Queensland.
Yep.
Awesome trip, that one.
So,
We can maybe we'd touch on a bit of special person in your heart who also plays balls.
yeah,
Well,
we can go there.
Yeah. Because
Family's
bit of
very strong with
competition.
you.
Oh yeah,
Family's
family's
really
everything, and it's been that way. I'm from a big family anyway. So having a good family and supporting that family is very important. Yeah.
So I'm talking obviously Hayley.
Yeah, competition wise, you guys butt heads a bit, or you got a tally going, or
Yeah, used to. Unfortunately, we don't get to practice much together anymore with all our conflicting priorities. Jasper not being at school, so pick up drop offs. Austin and Payson have got their sport. They're both very talented young kids. So, but we used to have every Monday arvo before Jasper come along. Was the feistiest single sit out you could ask for without divorce. It was sort of agreed upon before we started. We'd shake hands and say whatever happens next, we ride off as soon as we're done. We'd finish the game with a kiss and everything would be fine. But in between
you get your week's stress out. There you go.
Oh, I had everything. And yeah, we'd had a couple of people come down and practice with us and say never again. I think Helen Hill was one of those. I think there's a couple of Aussie Park people sort of sat on the rink next to us one day and said no thanks. But yeah, it was really, really, really nice. And yeah, she's been. Without her, I'm not here. I guarantee that. Yeah, she's a special woman, that one.
Well, not especially the whole time, but in the last 18 months, as you say, with the Jackaroos, travelling, you've just got back from a week. You went to England to Commonwealth Games stuff. There's a lot of travelling.
A lot of travelling, yeah.
I'm sure Christina's happy to have a travelling partner.
Yeah, she's made mention of that.
I didn't ask her that when we talked to her, but yeah, travelling partner for Christina. She's been doing it for 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, she's been on her own.
Yep.
It is. Yeah, she has mentioned, and I've felt it from the word go because I've had that travelling partner from the word go. But it's been nice just to bounce stuff off her, saying that she can do with me, someone to talk to on the 5-hour flights home. Generally, because everything's up the Gold Coast, Brisbane at the moment. Sharing how we're feeling about selection and that sort of stuff's always nice.
So then before that, another thing, you came on board with her sons.
Mm-hmm.
Had you won anything yet?
You're really laying into it, are you?
No.
Had I won anything before? I'd won a Masters pair.
Won a Masters.
2017.
I'm just trying to get the point that winning stuff is great.
Oh, it is.
It is great titles. They look good, but they're not the be and end all of selection.
Well, no, I am.
There are other ways to do what you've done.
A lot of effort there to get there. Right?
Yeah.
You don't have to just getting to back end of events, trialling really well, being a good citizen, good character, being a team man. There are different ways that people get into a state team, into a Perth Suns, into Australian team. You've won a few things now. We'll get to them.
Yep.
It's okay.
Yep.
I won't leave you hooked that he's never won anything in his life. Okay.
Well, at this point, it's sounding very believable.
But there are other ways. Perth Suns. So what was the Perth Suns experience?
Yeah, that was.
Your team was.
That was
if I remember.
with Chrissy and Lee Schreiner.
Lee Schreiner was your first one. Yep.
That was in. Yeah, I'd spoken to Noddy as hard as that was for him after playing the previous one.
Yep.
Still being the great mate of mine that he is, was so open to chat to me about the experience. Chevy being the same. Chevy gave me a roadmap of Pine Rivers rink by rink. It was laid out, the tricks in it, where the wind came, what time of the day. It was so incredibly detailed, and that just for me that showed what West Australians are all about. Like, yes, they would have been devastated not to represent again, but to still provide that sort of information to me before I went over there, knowing what it was like. Because it's a different beast. It's intense, it's fast paced, it's the best event to play in terms of spectatorship, being able to license to be yourself and be a bit animated and play up to the crowd, which generally that's not bowls, but it can be, which is the exciting bit about what BPL shows. And like that was off the back of Hales had just gone to England to play in the Scottish Open, which was a huge deal. Not many women qualify for that. And the day before I started playing, she told me that we were pregnant with Jasper. So that whole collection of stuff for that first BPL, I'll never ever
Emotions
forget that.
very high.
And on top of all that, like Shreina played phenomenal.
He did.
I think he was runner up in the MVP. I was with my mate Chrissy, just having a good time. Made finals. It was sort of everything I could ask for, you know. It's a bloody good event. I love it.
Can't dwell on previous results. You haven't got time to dwell on previous results. And as we all know, you win 50% of your games, you're nearly in the finals.
You're a sniff. Yep.
So you don't have to win every game.
No, you don't have to win every game. And we won a crucial game. I think it was the Melbourne Royals, the last round, just to make sure we got that good spot in the finals. And like I think the only thing I can say for people that don't get to see every game is the talent that's there. You can be with the side you're playing against for 99% of the game, and an opposition skipper can play one crucial ball at the right time, and that'll cost you a set, or draw you a set, and then you lose a game, and then you lose another one like that. You get one result go against you. All of a sudden, you're 4 losses out of 4 for the day, and you've played good. That's the format.
And there's plenty of people that don't like sets play. I personally think that's not a bad thing. Sets play.
I think it's good for that format.
Yes, you lose games where you've clearly been the best team, but
you win a couple.
You only win 2 ends, and you can win the whole game. That's the format of the game, which I think is quite exciting.
I think for being televised, it has to be that way, because if you've got a game where someone gets out to a great start, bowls, it can sort of become alright, well, we've got 10 ends left and we're 10 in front, just play defence. It's not great viewing. Whereas in sets, you can get dominated in the first set, they go to an ad break and you come back and all of a sudden it's all square again and it's game on again. That's the best for TV anyway, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So as I said, we're moving on. This, and as I sort of said before, this wasn't, how the hell has Cody got to where he is? Who knows?
Who was this person we pulled off the street?
Exactly. Why have we got him here? It's just to show that winning stuff gets you noticed, but doing other things also gets you noticed, and your timing has been really good all the time, which is a bit of luck. It's a little bit of well done by you. It's a bit of that, but finally we get to your first major of probably senior level. Was that the champion singles, or was that state pairs?
Are we counting masters?
Yeah. No, you beat me, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, don't count your masters.
I actually want to hear this.
Okay,
you beat me with Ken.
You were with Ken, I played with Noddy. And
you were very lucky.
We had a day out. An absolute day out.
Ken Pride will back me up. We were very unlucky.
There was nothing you and Ken could do that day. It wasn't your fault.
So that was the semi-final. We didn't make the final. That was the semi-final.
And we played another... Played a Cambridge team in the final too. Yeah.
And Andrew Ness.
Yeah, that was my first major.
Yeah. And it's significant.
Yeah, it was.
It's going on right now, so it's certainly significant.
Yep. And then there's a little bit of a break, and then
another good mate. Pairs, was that the next one?
Matty Mitchell. Yep. Yeah. We'd had a few cracks at it. Tried both combinations. Made a semi-final the year before, I think. Steve Fuster and Peter Flack gave us an absolute flacking out at Aussie Park, and then the year after we managed to we we played really good through that patch.
Yep.
Matty led a treat. I think I watched that final back once or twice, and just reconfirmed how good Matty played that day. He set it up well and started off a really cracking final. I think there was one score that sort of broke it open. But that was pretty special. Getting that first state title under the belt.
Yes.
Because I think I'd won about 7 or 8 Masters events, and everyone was going, "Well, you win a Masters, but like a state event's another level." And I wanted it so bad. I made a final with triples, a final with fours, a couple of semi-finals here and there.
Yeah.
Like I've been knocking.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you've got to do. You keep knocking.
But no one opened the door.
Was there any tough moments where, not necessarily throwing the towel, but you were close to, or
with bowls in general?
just bowls in general? Because obviously
Yeah.
Peter's obviously gone over a lot of close or narrow misses.
I gave the game away for representative bowls for 12 months after the Bendigo series. I just didn't enjoy it. I don't know what it was, because I played pretty good. I thought the team had actually gone okay. It was the year I think we lost to Northern Territory.
Yeah, I wasn't there, but yeah, I remember hearing it. Yeah,
We just weren't.
the last game.
We just didn't gel as a group. I didn't enjoy myself for whatever reasons, and yeah, just sort of gave it away for 12 months, which hindsight was probably the best thing I ever did. It does mean I still haven't played in Tassie because I missed the Tassie series, and the series I came back to the year after at Yokai was one that Clive Adams would love to tell everyone about, because I played as bad as you can play. But yeah, I did. I gave it away. Still played bowls at Bedford, enjoyed myself there. Still played in all the events, but I'd sort of thought, oh well, I've played for WA. So I have gone through those points. I went through that point with the Australian stuff, where I sort of thought, oh, my time's gone, and then the state stuff, where after that series I was like, oh, maybe that's it. I'll just play for the fun of it. And as soon as I get back to playing for the fun of it,
this is mid-20s.
So we'll flip it on its head.
Yeah, mid-20s. My career's finished. I'm done.
Early to mid-20s,
Bowls.
I'd sort of gone, oh well.
He's retired.
Yeah.
Very early retirement for bowls.
It is. Yeah.
So I'll flip it on its head. What brought you back into it? You said enjoying it again. Was there anything anyone said, or anything you said to yourself, perhaps?
I probably have to thank my uncle quite a lot for that. So he came and played at Bedford, travelled up from Mandurah with my granddad, so they both played. I think granddad was playing the second side. I won a club fours with my brother, my granddad and my uncle. That was pretty special. And my uncle was playing third on another rink, but he's always been one of my biggest supporters, and he sort of just said to me, he goes, come on mate, like you're not done, are you? Like, and he'd say that like weekend after weekend after weekend. I'm like, yeah, I'm done. Just, I'm going to enjoy myself and play club level and just enjoy the people around, and go away to country carnivals, because when you're playing and doing all that other stuff, you can't do those sort of things.
Yeah.
And eventually he broke me down, and I put my name back in the ring. And yeah, thanks uncle. Sort of worked out all right. Thank you.
So now you're at 90 odd games.
Yeah,
I guess
80 or 90. It
yeah,
takes a
it's
while.
early
to build
90s.
them
I
up.
think it's early 90s. I think you're getting close to 100. I'm not sure if you quite make it if you make the next series, but it's quite close.
Yeah,
Pretty
so
close.
quickly bring back Super Sixes or something. Surely we count Australian Championships. Come on. Got to find a way to make these games count.
No,
Got
sorry.
to tally them up.
No. Don't think so.
Yeah, 80 or
But
90.
yeah, so 90 over 10 years now.
Yeah, I missed 1 year.
Missed 1 year.
Played a few Super Sixes, which helped.
So it takes a long time to get to 100. A lot of players have not got to 100. A lot of very good players haven't got to 100.
Yeah.
So that's the next milestone in state bowls.
It is. Yep. That and
You have to work
That
it out. Count
Personal
down.
milestone of 100, but a medal, yes.
yeah, the personal
Even more
milestone's
so.
great, but
It's not as good as a team.
being as close as we were this year, and having to feel that heartbreak a little bit more than others, because I had to play the bowl to try and get it. That the medal would be the one.
But you say close this past year. You've seen there is a transformation going on at the moment, I think, in the men's state team.
Yeah, 100%.
There's young blokes pushing. A couple of them have got in, a few others pushing down the door, either making the old blokes move aside or at least making them play better. Either one. We can take either one.
We've got such a beautiful mix. Young blokes pushing themselves in, and then you've got at the other end of the age scale a guy like Billy Brandsma who just. I don't think it would matter how he was playing at club level. As soon as he puts that black and gold on, he is Superman. He plays phenomenal. He leads us without being necessarily the leader of the group. We've got a really nice mix. The culture's great. The work ethic is phenomenal. It's the best I've been a part of in the team. I'll be honest.
Yeah, everyone makes such a difference.
I think everyone, looks like everyone wants to be better for the next person, not necessarily better for themselves. And it's all about the next person. And even it's all about the team.
Even based on this year, situational purposes or situational reasonings, we were left to our own devices a fair bit to self-driven practice and self-driven training, whereas usually that would be directed, it was just expected. The player group expected of each other, and everyone turned up and put in the work, and it showed in our performances.
So you're within that leadership group.
Yep.
But you're also in the Australian leadership group. Yes.
Yeah.
Currently. How have you taken that on board? How much responsibility is that? Do you feel for someone who hasn't played major competitions for Australia yet, you've gone from into the Jackaroos, suddenly you're in the leadership group, which I think is that player voted?
Yeah, so I think
there's a portion of player voting and a portion of coach voting.
Yeah, so I got in there originally as a leader of the emerging squad when I was in that, and that's voted by your peers. So all the squads get to vote on each leadership group section, but weighted. If you're in that squad, your vote's worth more. So I was recognised mainly by the emerging group then, and obviously the opens as well, and the paras and the juniors and pathways. I put my name in the ring because I do. I guess value my leadership qualities, and I've had those opportunities at club level to do that, state level now. So I sort of put my hat in the ring and said, if people vote for me, I'm happy to do it. Was voted in, and then when I was elevated to the main group, we were sort of given the task of still leading because it was me and Matt Lucas.
Yes.
Leading for the emerging squad, but also making leadership decisions in the opens. Yeah. And that was agreed upon and acknowledged by the wider
group. So what kind of responsibilities do you have with that?
So we met in Sydney with a guy named Graham Lowe, who works on team culture, and he's worked with the All Blacks and the Western Bulldogs, so pretty good fella.
Oh, so it comes from a low base. Okay.
About developing our culture and our expectations. A lot of that work had been done in the build-up to Birmingham before I was in the group, but I was part of the tail end of rounding it all out. And just building those expectations of players and what's required.
You enjoy it?
Oh, I love it. Initially, I'll be honest, when I first went to my first meeting with them, I felt a little bit out of place because I was so new to the whole environment, let alone...
It can be hard to lead when you're coming into it new.
But I was encouraged by other leaders and other members of the team and the coaching staff and the support staff that I was the right guy for the position. And the more encouragement I get, the more confidence I get, obviously, and just sort of ran with it. And I act that way now.
Yeah, so we've got you talk to you. We had a quick chat with our juniors last year, year before.
At Rossmore?
Yeah, so you've done a few things like that. So any other, for those out there who want to make a state team, what are your expectations of them? What can they do to get into that team?
Oh, I think...
On a personal level, so taking out winning events and things, or getting back-end events, what kind of person are you asking for them to be?
So we're talking about guys who...
What culture do you
want
to bring into that culture that you and a group of you are building, what requirements are them
I think, you leave your ego at the door is the biggest one.
Yep.
It's team first mentality. You're looking for people that want to put in the work, so don't just rock up on the Sunday of a trial, play, and that's it.
So practice requirements.
Yeah. Well, without being
We all have
Practice
our own.
with purpose,
We all have our
I
own
guess,
little ways
you've
of
got
doing
to put
things.
in work with the squad and the team you're selected in as well. The little 1%ers, and I rave about this kid because he's another clear example of what you can do to make it, being Jack.
Yep.
For those who don't know Jack is, which won't be too many, you watch him. He'll be at the club, we'll be sitting at a table, we'll have lunch. He will make sure every single chair is put back. He'll make sure rubbish is away. He'll make sure everything is left the way it should be. He acknowledges every opponent. He'll, when he's playing singles, he'll thank the markers. He'll just all the little things outside of just being a gun bowler.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking for, because anyone can put a bowl close to the jack, really.
Yeah.
Obviously, you need to do it more consistently than everyone else, but it's just that extra stuff that it builds trust. We did a lot of work with leading teams. About and Chevy, who's no longer in the side, but he was a big driver of it. It's family, and if you're going to treat your teammates like family, and I know how close our whole family to me.
Yeah.
I know that when I go out there, I trust that the guys I'm playing with have got my back, and they'll do everything they can to support me to get the best result and the desired outcome.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anything more in terms of?
Any coaching? What does a young player need to improve? What do they need to bring to the table in a shot sense?
Well, if we're talking coaching, I think that's your remit. If we're talking,
okay, what have I taught you?
Well,
Let's get on to what have I taught
I
you.
reckon
No. I think I've talked with Cassini. You have lots of coaches during your time,
you do.
and you get little bits, hopefully, from all the coaches. And sometimes it's what to do, and sometimes it's what not to do.
Yep.
So, so you would have got things from all your coaches.
Yeah, I think one of the
So
things
what
that
sticks in your mind?
helped me in juniors was I wasn't drive happy. So sometimes it won't work for you, but if you can play the metre to 6 foot overshot relatively effectively, that looks quite good in a selection sense. And from a coaching point of view, I think that's what you want to see, because it's just an adaptation of the draw shot anyway. And it wins games. You watch the likes of Sheriff and
Yep.
Wedlock and Tees, they all play, and I could name all of the Jackaroos that can do it. They play that metre to 6 foot over that devastates games, because you don't break a head. You can set up a head to make a score, and you can play that delicate weight and make it, whereas if you're driving at it, the likelihood of all of those bowls hanging around is very limited.
Yeah, I suppose the two things that I think make a great player is the consistency factor, obviously, but it's that weight control.
100%.
Weight control is so key. Lots of people can just send it down fast and drive, and some people are really good at it, and that's a strength of theirs, and they should keep it. And if it's something you're really good at, then you still got to keep working on it. But turning a bowl over to make 5 and nothing else changes can really hurt teams.
Oh, it certainly does. Yeah,
It's
very visual as
just
well. Like
mentally.
everyone watches it.
Yeah,
It's very.
yeah. So weight control.
Yeah, it makes me laugh, because our CEO, I remember him saying to me one day when I was first, I think it was like maybe my second year in the state team, we were playing at Big Park, and weight control still wasn't my 100% strength yet, and I hear him yelling, because Ken and I have always had a good relationship. You got the weight control of one blue player, mate. Got to work on that. Just stuff like that sort of sticks with you, and it just spurs you on, and that's what it's meant for. Another good mate of mine, Tommy Mitchell, he's always said to me that, at the peak of his powers, his weight control was out of this world.
Definitely.
And he also had the big whack, which was devastating.
Oh, it's a useful thing to have in the locker.
Oh yeah. So things like that, when people say to you, work on that, and that'll get you somewhere. It's all
There's plenty of drills, and drills are only supposed to be a template. Don't be afraid to actually make up your own drills, things that work for you. I'm sure you've done it, gone out there and set things up how you want to set them up, how you want to practice.
Yep.
Yeah, purposeful practice.
Yeah, and drills are only as good as the mentality you have towards them.
Yeah.
If you're going out there just to fill out a scorecard, why bother?
Yeah,
if
you're
going out there
really
to get
engaged
something
with
out of
them.
they can be very useful.
So one of the things.
I'll tell you what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
A bit curious is a bit more on your work-life balance. A bit more about how on earth do you do everything? Because as you said, you got kids.
Where are you
you
working?
travel east, and you're working. So
Where are you working?
Where do you work?
You allowed to say that?
I work for
Not in a spy agency. Or anything?
No, certainly not. I'm not fielding any questions on the topic before I say it. I work for Main Roads, a wonderful state agency. Does a mountain of work, and I work in the
I think I
ministry.
seen you on a shovel.
No, can't see me on a shovel.
Oh, okay.
Office.
Must have been a double ganger. I work for the ministerial team as a conduit between the public, the agency, and the Minister for Transport. Deal with a lot of correspondence. Obviously, people have got a lot of questions and a lot of complaints about how they think things should be done.
Of course.
There are times where we've done something wrong and we need to fix it. So we answer to those people because that's essentially what a state government is. We answer to the people. Yes, it's very busy, big budgets, lots of works. Yes, that's the work part.
So they must have been very understanding the last 12 months.
Oh, extremely. I'm very, very fortunate that I'm in the team I am and the organisation I am. That they ride on the coattails. They enjoy it, and they are part of the success. I've got a big. I've heard mega athletes say it takes a village to get stuff done, and I've certainly got that in a lot of different aspects.
Do they watch your games or?
They have
through
done.
them? They have.
Yeah,
they're coming in like Cody.
The AO.
Welcome back.
The AO pairs a couple of years ago. I got off the green and obviously going through a mountain of messages, and one of them was the work group chat on Facebook Messenger, and there was a video of them watching me via YouTube.
Oh, brilliant.
And like really getting emotional because it was a crazy end to that game. That was pretty cool. And they get something out of that as well. And they know that when I'm at work, I'm 100% at work, and I'm putting everything I can into it. Yeah.
So with our games, is there anything you'd like to see done differently?
With
bowls?
our game?
Yeah, bowls.
So
how would you change it?
What would you
if
change?
you could?
There's a few things. I'd shorten the pennant season, as contentious as that might be for people to hear. I think 18 games is just far too long now for what we try and fit in. You're talking about work-life balance.
Yep. I mean, this is coming from someone that does so much.
I'd be very surprised at the percentage. I'd be very surprised if there was a high percentage of people that played all 18 games this year, and especially at Premier League level, because that's where I play, so that's what I'm aware of. It's just too much now, and I think if you did shorten the season, you'd have chances to move things around. Like people have talked about the state pairs 2 days after Christmas.
Yep.
You shorten the season, you can move that around. I love open gender at all levels. So that's another thing I would change. And I know there's a chance it's coming. But I love the idea of it because bowls doesn't have contact. There's no physical attributes required. It is purely skill based. There's nothing.
It's very inclusive as a sport.
There is nothing that gender should have a say on. So, as far as that's concerned, I don't know what the issue is with having open gender pennants. They do it in Queensland, they do it in Victoria, they do it in New South, and they're the 3 most successful states. So, for me, it's a no-brainer. So there's another thing, and again, I'm touching all the contentious issues.
Yeah, why not?
That's what it is.
No, absolutely.
I'm all for both of those things. I would love to be able to remove the element of luck from our game, because isn't it one of the most frustrating things on both sides? Like it can go for you on a day, and you're just constantly apologising, which. Look, there's some blokes who'll cop that against me where I've got every rub you could possibly get. And on the flip side, there's been days where you've clearly been the better team and you just can't buy a shot. But there's just no way of removing that.
No, I think there's a hard road you're going down that one.
It doesn't matter what sport. I'm afraid you're going to get that no matter what.
And the last thing for me, and it's on our list, how would you convince someone who hasn't played bowls to come and play. Is there something we can...
How would you sell bowls?
I think if you're going to sell bowls, topics we've touched on, you've got to sell the inclusiveness of it. The fact that you don't have to be an athlete to play at, whatever level. I love the idea of promoting high performance. This is another subject altogether, but high performance at that level, I love selling that. If you want to grow the game from the top end, because that's the only way you're going to get, TV sponsors, all that sort of stuff. But if you're going to sell the game, it's a game where, I've experienced it. You can play with 3 generations and win club events, and I'm sure there's been instances where you win state events with your brother, your uncle, your granddad, like stuff like that. The inclusiveness, as we said.
Yeah.
It's when you scale back all the expectation of performance at our level now, and you just take it back to the basics, it is so much fun. There's nothing more rewarding than sending a bowl out on a wide green with a blowing gale. It's got to go 16 feet out, and you watch it come all the way back to the jack, and you know that I did that. That's pretty special. So I just think...
And anyone can do that, even if it's only once.
Yeah.
Even if they're not like yourself, who can do it consistently. Everyone can do it at least once.
And unlike golf, you don't have to do it over 520
yards. You don't have to go bushwalking.
30 metres,
Zigzag across the course. No.
And, you can have a drink if you want to, and enjoy that social aspect as well. I just think, you break down that stigma that we know is still there.
Yep.
And once you get people in, that's all it takes, because it's just
once they get their first bowl.
It's just so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. I'm thinking about... Have you got a name drop for us?
It was actually Cliff. Cliff Cable was the one, but let me give you the same one as we gave Christina, which is obviously Trees, big part of what you are now. She's Australian selector, Pathways coach, and juniors coach. We started together, and she's progressed, and I've just hobbled down here somewhere, much cleverer than me. So, what she's done for you, she's...
Oh yeah, I touched about this in a little speech I did a couple of years back, or maybe a year ago. Just passion, persistence, and patience that woman's shown me. I will never, ever be able to pay back. She saw it in times that I didn't, and she's always been there to chat to me about the game. And she's a superstar player in her own right. So to put that aside and just show me the way, essentially, and show others, I guess, and explain to others that he's got it in him. Just give him a go. She's a very special person, and there's a reason she's in the Hall of Fame. And I'll never be able to thank her enough, and I love her. She's brilliant.
So. That's going to cause me pain. I just want to point that out. All the accolades she gets, she's going to tell me.
I'm excited. To get her on. Yeah.
She won't let me forget. She's a wonderful lady.
She is. Yeah, she certainly is.
Brilliant. Well, I think that's about time. Has you got anything else you want to say,
I'm
Cody?
good.
You're
I think
good.
we've learnt about Cody Packer, the person, Cody Packer, the family man, and Cody Packer, he has won a few tournaments. Let me just say. Championship singles.
Yep.
Obviously state singles. Australian Open pairs we haven't even touched on, which is an amazing achievement. First West Australian male for the Australian Open. There's been a couple of females. Therese herself has won the Australian Open pairs, so you followed her.
Yep.
But so that was a great achievement, and certainly we enjoyed watching you that, and we'll enjoy watching you in Australian colours and the BPL. Perth Suns in 2 weeks.
Perth Suns in 2 weeks, yeah.
2 weeks, so
definitely.
KO and Fox Sports, whatever, or the live streaming of Bowls Australia, get on and support Blake and Cody and Chrissy. They're going to do a wonderful job, as they always do.
And I can promise you there'll be more content than ever on the Facebook page, so hit the like button. And
social media is going
social media is popping.
Yeah.
So he's been planning something. Look forward to seeing that.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much.
No coach involvement.
Yeah, thank you for joining me. And I'll just do a quick reminder for those that want to send in any suggestions for stories or guests, if they've got anything funny to talk about, send it through to podcast@bowlswa.com.au. That's podcast@bowlswa.com.au, and just put a subject in there if it's a guest podcast guest, if it's a story podcast story. Simple as. And thank you very much for joining me, and we'll see you next time. Brilliant.
Thank you for listening to the Holding Shot podcast. You can subscribe on all your usual podcast platforms or find us on YouTube under Bowls WA. For more Bowls related content, head to our website at bowlswa.com.au or follow us on social media at Instagram or Facebook under Bowls WA. Until next time, good bowling everyone!